Women are facing extreme poverty as men avoid them. And you know what? I'm not crying for anyone right now. So when you look at the inflation that's going around, people are broke. Women are broke. They cannot even afford an Uber home. More and more men are refusing to pay for their meals on dates. It's all over the internet. And when these guys say, like, yeah, I'm not paying for your meal, the girl does not have enough money to pay for her meal. The guy also says, I'm also not getting you a ride. I'm not giving you a ride home. She goes, you can't do that. You brought me here. You have to take me home. He's like, nah, you're entitled. I'm not doing anything for you. He's like, taking Uber. She's like, I don't have money for Uber. I can't use Uber. Wait, so you can't use Uber? You don't have money for an Uber? Nope. So she's basically stranded and she cannot pay the bill. And in some cases, the police are being called. And, because, the restaurant's like, yeah, we're not losing that money. It's our policy to call the cops. So they're calling the cops. The cops are coming. And, the woman basically gets charged with theft. And she gets, either she gets her hands put behind her back or she gets basically a citation. It goes as a violation and she has to show up at the courthouse, or she's just banned from the establishment. And it's like, guys, this is the type of shame that a lot of these women are now going to be experiencing. And then when the guy is like, I'm not paying for your meal, I'm not paying for your Uber, the woman goes, ick. I get the icks from this guy. This is what an icky man is. It's like, ick, bro, you can't even afford anything. You're a brokey. And now men are in their soft guy era, and they're like, listen, women have money too, so they need to take us out on dates. They need to pay for them dates. They need to buy us nice things. If she wanted to, she would. Drizzle. And it's hilarious, guys. These women are all living on credit. Right now, America is in an insane credit crunch. People don't have money, but they have credit. They say we're in the best economy, or one of the best economies in the history of the United States. Okay? This is while people are struggling to find jobs. Millions of full-time jobs are being lost every single month. Companies are laying people off rapidly. Tech companies have been downsizing rapidly, but we are in one of the greatest economies ever. And we need to continue the great work that's being done. Guys, just look at it, okay? And people don't understand that, like, it started like in the 1800s. I think it started with the District of Columbia. They basically incorporated. So and since then, like, every city after then, including the federal government, has been operating as a corporation. So we do not live in a republic or we do not have a system of. We're not in a democracy or a republic. We live under a federal corporation. We have a federal corporation structure, both at state level and at federal level. And the thing is that they're all going broke. Women are going broke. They don't have any money. They're going to be filing for bankruptcies rapidly. Pretty much most Americans are, but women hold 80% of women are responsible for 80% of all consumer spending, and they hold 80% of all consumer debt. All right. They hold most of the personal debt in the United States when it comes to for things outside of business related purchases and so forth. Men make investments, women make consumer purchases. So there's going to be a wave of bankruptcies, and it's going to be by majority women who are going to be at the head of these bankruptcies. But it's not just women who are going to be filing for bankruptcy. It's going to be states that are filing for bankruptcy, cities that are filing for bankruptcy, and turning to the federal government for money is not working out because the debt, these states hold lots, the states and the cities in these states, they hold large amounts of debt. They are failing states, and the government, all it can do is just print more money. But we know what the consequences of printing money are. They printed tons of money in 2020, and we see what's happening. It's starting to look like Venezuela here. They're erupting in California right now, where it costs more than $25 for some chicken nuggets and two large fries from McDonald's with no drink. Like, this is hyperinflation. We're seeing the type of inflation when Venezuela was going under and the value of the bolivar was falling rapidly. But let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
Major cities across the U.S. are in financial trouble.
I think we can all agree on that we're broke.
We're seeing sales tax come down. We're seeing business tax come down, and stays in our hotels come down.
One study says that 53 of the largest cities in the United States haven't generated enough revenue to cover their bills.
Clearly, there are significant capital needs, across the U.S.
Several cities spent years taking on debt to fund services, and now some public officials are reining in spending.
We've got to be careful because you don't want to get into too much debt.
Rising debt may lead to dirtier streets, fewer public services, and tough decisions from public officials that need to make ends meet.
The cities that are in trouble, they have a cash flow problem. They may be able to count on some revenue growth. Increasing taxes may be an option. Short of that, they're going to have to cut services or benefits.
Why are so many U.S. cities going broke? And what will that mean for residents of our biggest and busiest places? Running a major city is expensive. For an example, look at New York City. With over 8 million residents spread across 5 counties, it has to pay for more than most.
It's a dense, diverse place that requires a significant investment in the public realm.
Brad Lander is Comptroller of New York, the top accountant for the city. Comptrollers review every financial aspect of city government. In the case of New York, that includes over 1,700 parks, over 200 library branches, 11 acute care public hospitals, 472 subway stations, and about 177,000 affordable housing units. Like many other parts of the U.S., New York City sells municipal bonds to fund many of these projects.
A city's bonds are like your mortgage, for long-term expenditures, something that you're going to use over generally 10, 20, 30 years. You borrow for it.
Here's how it works. Investors foot the bill for the city's general obligations. The city promises to pay them back later on with interest.
We pay the interest on our bonds, but then we can use those bonds to build schools and invest in our water and sewer infrastructure and subsidize affordable housing. But then we've got to be careful because you don't want to get into too much debt.
Some experts believe that cities and state governments in the U.S. are selling bonds to spend more money than they can pay back.
In our study, we gave the city of New York an F grade.
Sheila Weinberg is the founder and CEO of Truth in Accounting, a nonprofit that says they promote transparency in public accounting.
What we found is that the city has $177 billion of debt. This represents $61,800 per taxpayer.
New York City calculates a smaller debt than the estimate from Truth in Accounting.
So right now, we've got about $96 billion of debt outstanding. Currently, the way the debt ceiling works, we could borrow up to about $125 billion. So we have $25 to $30 billion of room.
The group claims that many so-called sinkhole cities have more bond debt obligations than they're reporting publicly. They focus on underfunded pensions and retiree health benefits that are owed to public employees, but backed by investments in the stock market.
We see pension and retiree healthcare debt problems in most major cities. We also find that with the 50 states.
As of 2024, U.S. pensions are underfunded by $1.6 trillion, according to researchers at Stanford. They point out that pension contributions are invested in the stock market, then paid back to employees for the rest of their lives.
Our pension funds are fiscally sound. They're 80% funded, and we have a path to get them to be 100% funded over the next decade or so.
If public officials invest funds in stock markets and the bet goes the wrong way, it can make or break a city. For example, retiree payment obligations are part of what sent Detroit into bankruptcy in 2013. In the fallout, Detroit temporarily revised its pension program to limit payouts to former employees. This decision let the city put more money into its reserves.
Even though that's an expense that was incurred and they have that debt, it doesn't have to be included in the balanced budget requirement. If I don't pay that invoice, I don't have to include it in my balanced budget.
Truth in Accounting points out that cities like Chicago, Philadelphia, Houston, Portland, and Miami all owed more money than they held in assets in fiscal year 2022. That year, stocks sank in the worst year since the Great Recession, before recovering. As a result, cities from coast to coast have had to tamp down on spending to balance their budgets.
Mr. Mayor, hi.
Yes, how are you?
In New York, Mayor Eric Adams entered 2024 with a $7 billion budget gap, largely attributed to an increase in asylum seekers and migrants arriving in the city. He proceeded with spending cuts dubbed PEG, a program to eliminate the gap.
These actions, along with an unexpectedly strong economy, help balance fiscal year 25. But we're not out of the woods.
So what the mayor announced was a series of 3 5% cuts that add up a little shy of 15%. A lot of those cuts that are being felt very, palpably by New Yorkers.
For example, the city comptroller says funding cuts for public education will end some class offerings at the City University of New York, while increasing class sizes. Additionally, many libraries in the city are cutting their hours.
There's not one neighborhood library left that's still open 7 days a week. Obviously, if you work during the week and the weekend is when you can get there with your kids, that can be really devastating.
The mayor's budget also cut funding for programs that provide an alternative to incarceration, a policy that reduced strain on New York City's jails.
So you have to make hard choices in budgeting, but it really is important not to be penny-wise and pound-fool.
Deptford Prison is making a big comeback, y'all. They're gonna start throwing people in jail more rapidly because they can't pay their debts. All right, they've done it for child support. They're gonna start doing it for all kinds of other things. It's a living hell. It's a living hell, and modern women are at the forefront of it because they're holding the majority of all of this debt right now. All right, they hold the vast majority of education-based debt, student loans. All right, there's no happy ending right here. There's zero happy ending, and they're facing extreme poverty as men are avoiding them. And this is one of the reasons why they're absolutely furious over soft guy era, because men are basically going around and saying that no, these are dusties and brokies. I don't want to have anything to do with these people. All right. They just want to take advantage of me. If she had, women have their own money now. They don't need to. They don't. It's not. We don't live in an era where women need a man to completely subsidize everything. Women have their own money. Women are out earning men. They can pay for some bills. They can pay some bills. They can contribute just like they're supposed to. And women, of course, women are basically like, no, this is ridiculous. You want to be effeminate. You want to be like a girl. And it's like, and guys are like, well, what's wrong with being like a girl? It's what's wrong with being equal to a woman? And women are furious about this. Women are absolutely furious about this because feminism has basically run its course for them. And while they're trying to double down on feminism, they're also trying to say that men are not entitled to be equal to women. All right, women have specific needs, and men need to understand that, and they need to stand in the background and we need a new form of masculinity, healthy masculinity that reinforces being the provider, a provider mindset to men, where they support women as they're supposed to and share their resources with women and take care of children that don't belong to them. Like, guys, they're out here. They're literally out here screaming and hollering and crying because men don't want to be the step-up dad anymore. Men are basically walking away and saying that if a woman wants to be in his life, she needs to bring something of value. These single moms are here crying on the internet because men are basically like, yeah, I don't want to raise some other man's kid.
This comment right here.
And what about that comment?
I really don't think that he's speaking for all men.
Of course, there are always exceptions, but they are most certainly speaking for the vast majority of men.
Because I know that there will be somebody that steps up one day to be some sort of father figure for my child.
It's very possible. However, do bear in mind that women with children are not at the top of a man's dating priority list. They are, in fact, near the bottom.
It's also I'm very surprised that you felt comfortable actually typing this out and commenting on someone's video.
I'm actually surprised that one didn't already realize that most men actually felt that way.
It's just the wildest thing.
And I mean, guys, if you can't see what it says, no man wants to raise another man's child and be the cleanup guy. Pass. And these single moms are pissed off about it. They're 100% pissed off about it that men are like, yeah, I'm not raising your kid. Like, listen, Felicia, I'm not raising your kid.
It's just the wildest thing.
No, it's not. It's actually almost common sense.
You don't know my circumstances with my child, or his father.
Well, that's true. Not every single mother has 2 or 3 baby daddies, and some single mothers are the product of being widowed or are divorced. However, the fact remains the same that most men do not want to raise another man's child.
Yeah, that's basically it. So, hopefully he's not speaking for all men out there, but this was just really disappointing.
This was just really disappointing to see that men don't want to raise another man's child. This was really disappointing. Guys, this is their mindset. This is their mindset, and they're out here trying to shame men because men don't want to raise other men's child. And don't be like this guy. You don't be like this guy who doesn't want to raise, doesn't want to marry a single mother and raise a single mother's kid. Like no more step up dads, no more men, doing the whole stepdad thing. He's not a stepdad. He's a step up dad. He's stepping up to the plate and doing what another man should have done. You see, this is why Tyrone and Ray Ray and Pookie are so pissed off. Little Poncho is gonna be okay because, like MK Fitness pointed out, Little Poncho will just go down to the flea market. He'll go down to the market, get himself a new ID, new social security number, like he's done in the past, and he'll start all over again. Oh gosh, it's hilarious. This is hilarious. You can't. It's like the late great Kevin Samuels used to say, you can't make this stuff up. The reality is stranger than the fiction.
The city governments of Portland, Oregon, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles are all cutting back on spending too.
You have upward pressure on wages and downward pressure on city revenues. That creates a gap that we are facing right now that we need to fill. So we're paying for positions that are not filled and are delivering no services. That's a practice that we need to pull back on if we're going to have a balanced budget.
The Los Angeles County government sees stagnant revenue growth in 2024 and beyond, which it says will sharply limit its ability to fund existing obligations, let alone new programs. And in Portland, leaders see a fiscal cliff ahead as there are no funds left to address existing financial issues.
Guys, this is insane. And we are in the best economy, one of the best economy in histories. Guys, this is going to be the bankruptcy of all. This is the everything bubble. I talked about the everything bubble many years ago. And I said it, the everything bubble is going to pop. All right, we're heading for destruction. Countdown to destruction. The everything bubble is absolutely going to pop soon. And when the everything bubble pops, it's going to be hell. I don't feel sorry for these people, guys. All right, everyone's going to be filing for bankruptcy. Women are going to be filing for bankruptcy. A lot of them won't be able to discharge those student loans. All right, they're going to be stuck with those student loans for the rest of their lives and hollering about. They're going to be on that whole feminist BS stuff, but then at the same time saying that a man needs to come along and pay those loans off for them. Guys, these women are no, they're not going to be able to find any men. Like, it's already bad as it is. 90% of, well, no, let me correct myself. Less than 1 out of every 1,000 men are getting married right now. And they've already said it, like their article saying that, within like 20 years, 10 to 20 years, marriage it's looking like marriage will be completely extinct. And it will be a practice that almost no one engages in Western society, which is insanity. All right. And these women seem to think that they're going to find men that are going to marry them with this large amounts of debt. All of these women who went to medical school, law school, especially medical school, though, and, they're doctor this and doctor that. Guess what? They're older now. They can't work these long hours anymore. They're tired of working 16 hours a day. The money just doesn't make sense to them anymore. They physically cannot do it. They miss the money, but they can't do it anymore. They have all of this debt. They have, they purchased $1 million houses, a house that costs $1.5 million. And, they're not able to keep up with the crazy mortgage payments. She purchased a Ferrari or another expensive sports car for herself that costs $200,000 or $300,000. She has over $2 million in debt. Over $2 million in debt, and she's looking for a man, a millionaire, that's going to come and rescue her. All right, she can't handle no broke boy. She's now in her 40s, she's in her 30s or 40s, and she needs a real man to step up and give her a life of luxury and comfort, and who's also going to take care of that debt for her. Like, why in any... Guys, they're completely disconnected from reality, and they're all going to end up filing for bankruptcy. And then to top it off, a lot of these women, I used to work in insurance, a lot of these women are way behind on their taxes. A lot of them are committing insurance fraud, and they're committing tax fraud. And what's going to end up happening is that, especially with these administrations right now, they're going to start cracking down. They're going to go after these women. So when you have someone that owes the IRS like $200,000, $300,000, right now they're going after people for like $600. Like, there's a new policy where basically if you earn more than 500, if you get like more than $500 or $600 from, like, let's say like PayPal or whatever, or Cash App, if someone sends you more than that, if you earn more than like that, it's like $600, you have to report that to the IRS. Like they have to know every. It used to be like 14 or $20,000. Now it's $600. $600, y'all. This is crazy stuff. Crazy, absolutely insane stuff, and it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. And these women, they owe all of this money to the IRS, and they think that they're going to get away with it. You're going to have a lot of these women. You're going to see you're going to see these pediatricians getting hauled off to prison, all right, for their tax obligations. And once they come out of prison, they're not going to go back to medicine. They're going to go right. They're going to go to the streets. All right, because this is from the streets that they came, and this is the streets that they shall return. And and then once they head to the streets, it's like there's no coming back from that. And as I said before, the streets are a gateway to the church, and the church is a gateway to the streets. The streets lead to the church, and the church leads to the streets. So it's just a vicious cycle, and men are just sitting from the sidelines, laughing their butts off and just watching it all burn as they live simple lives of luxury and comfort, because men are focusing on themselves and they're making enough money to survive and thrive and nothing else. Not having children, not getting married, and their money is just going to keep on growing as things go downhill for women in Western society. And if they and these, as I said already, these men are not going to spend their money in Western society. They're going to spend their money outside of Western society. If they want to go on dates, if they want physical intimacy, they're going to go overseas. But for a lot of guys, especially with artificial intelligence on the rise, a lot of men are going to are going to have AI girlfriends. Okay, these men are going to be known as what's called robosexuals. And just as the prediction made by Futurama said that don't date robots, they're going to start dating robots. They're going to start dating robots, and when they start dating robots, oh boy, that's just like the final M2 was the final nail in the coffin. But when men start dating robots, that's like, we're already seeing post-apocalyptic events, but women are just going to basically sit there, start walking around outside like, what is a woman? Because there's nothing. It's over. It's over. And lonely fools, only fools, lonely fans. That thing is probably going to get shut down eventually, and they're going to be fined. Some people may go to jail. Some of the creators on there may end up in prison because it's mixed up with a lot of stuff. Think about this. They shut down Omegle. All right, the government shut down Omegle. It was just a streaming platform where people would go on and interact with other people, and that platform was mixed up with a lot of very bad stuff. Omegle, they shut that down. And you really think that only fools, lonely fans is going to be around? No, the feds. What I suspect is that the feds are gathering up information and they're building a case against only fools. They're building a case against lonely fans, but it takes years because what they do is they make sure that they have enough evidence to get search warrants, just like how they raided Diddy. They're going to raid only fools, lonely fans. They're going to start making arrests, and people are going to start singing like canaries. And a lot of the people who are on these platforms, they're going to get a lot of those. They're going to get the tax information, the financial information, and they're going to start prosecuting the women and men who are associated with this platform or use this platform. They're going to get the tax records of these people. They're going to see people who have been skimping out and finding other ways to avoid paying what they owe, because there's a bunch of women who are using this platform and then they're like, developing relationships with these men and then getting these men to send them money, outside of OnlyFools, outside of the payment processing on OnlyFools and OnlyFans, to cash app them this money or to send them crypto or whatever. They're finding other ways to do that so they can try to avoid paying taxes. The government's going to find that. They're going to get all of those records from OnlyFools, from OnlyFans. They're going to start doing extreme investigations because they're going to collect that money, and those women are going to go to prison. They're going to end up like Will Smith, having to pay money back, Steve Harvey having to pay money back. They're never going to be able to pay that money back. It's basically like, remember like that movie 7 Years a Slave. It's going to be a lifetime for them. That's going to be a lifetime for them. And that's when you have that type of pressure on you and that there's no way out. It's like, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, guys. I told you, think about this. This woman who when I was on, call it, death's door, she basically turned her back on me and then hits me up now like, oh, I love you. Bro, I haven't spoken to you. Like it's been 4 years. 4 years. and you're going to like great, and oh, I had lost your number, but I found the picture of it, and I love you. Beep. I just hang up on her, sending me text messages one after another. Oh, what happened is this, trying to make up excuses like I'm stupid. Guys, if she wanted to, she would. If she wanted to, she would. And it's guys, it feels so good. It feels so good when you just ignore these people. It feels so good when you just ignore them, because it's from the streets that they came, and it's to the streets that they shall return. And the thing is, when you know people, you can just like look at them. I saw a picture of her, a new picture of her, and I'm like, bro, you're using the fluffy white stuff. I know exactly what you look like when you use the fluffy white stuff. You're using the fluffy white stuff. You look like crap, you know. And then you've got like you got a tattoo of death on you. Yeah, good luck to that. Miss me with that. Anyway, guys, don't forget that I have another channel called Angry, where I discuss gaming, anime, geek stuff, nerd stuff, real world stuff, and whatever else interests me. There's a link to inscription in the video. Go check the channel out. Subscribe to the channel, support my work. And if you're enjoying the content on the Men Walking Away channel, you can if you're enjoying the content on the Angry Guy channel, you can go over to the Men Walking Away channel, where I release daily videos. So if you want more Angry Guy content, head over to Men Walking Away. There's a link to inscription in the video. Subscribe to the channel, enjoy the content. Let's jump right back into the video.
The demand for resources continues to surpass availability within the city.
Cities often use credit to raise money from investors in the bond market. Portland, for example, has a AAA credit rating, which could make it an enticing place to park cash.
Interest earned by owners of municipal bonds is exempt from federal taxation.
I want to point this out very quickly, that with like bonds from New York and all of these, like I said, these are just like how corporations sell bonds. These states are all corporations. They're all incorporated, so they're selling bonds. But guess what? If they have more debt than assets, think about this very carefully. When you have more debts than assets, and there's no possibility for you to pay those bonds back, you were saying, well, the idea is that you'll be able to pay these things off, pay these back in like 10 years. And you're looking at it, you're like, bro, the amount of income that you're taking in is not enough to ever pay these bonds back. You've been dipping into pensions, so you're not going to be able to pay people their pensions. Think about this carefully, guys. A lot of the boomers are retiring, and when the next economic crisis hits, we're in a huge economic crisis, but when the next real, like when the ground falls out, all the boomers are going to be saying, yeah, I want my pension. And those pensions won't be there. And we know already, they said exactly what will end up happening. The states will basically tell them, yeah, we don't have the money, so we're going to have to just reduce the amount that we will pay those pensions. And that's it. The state can do whatever they can. It sounds insane, but they don't have to live up to their obligations. This is the craziness of dealing with the state. They just won't pay out what's owed in the pensions. And you can call them and you can make demands and you can call your city councilman. It means literally nothing. They don't have the money and they're not going to pay it. It's insane. Like a pension, that's money that you are owed. That's what you worked for. All right. They have an obligation, but they're gambling your money in the stock market. Like Sam Friedman. And then you say, well, how are these people not in jail? Because they are the state. The state can do whatever it wants. Even the Supreme Court can't really do much. The Supreme Court can say, well, yeah, the state is guilty for doing this. What are they going to do? Other than trying to throw a couple public officials in jail, there's nothing they can do about it. The Supreme Court can't do anything about it. The state is broken. And when the floor falls out, women are gonna, everyone's gonna file for bankruptcy. Women are gonna be filing for bankruptcy. Men are gonna be filing for bankruptcy, but women are gonna be filing for insane amounts of bankruptcy. And student loan debt cannot be discharged in bankruptcy. Typically, you cannot discharge student loan debt, just like you cannot discharge, what do you call that thing? Child support obligation. So these women are going to be stuck with that student loan unless they can basically discharge it, like file for disability and do it that way. And not all of them are going to get that. It's pretty much over. Like they are, and like I said, and a lot of them are behind on taxes. Like it's going to be they're going to feel what it feels like to be a man. And even then they still won't even know the extent of it. But it's just going to be compounding on them, and all the consequences that they've been putting off, that they've been avoiding, the accountability, it's going to fall on top of them. It's going to fall on top of them.
which helps to lower the overall cost of borrowing for state and local government issuers.
3 major agencies grade cities on their ability to repay their debts.
So Fitch's credit rating scale, it's expressed using the categories of AAA to BBB for the investment grade category, and then from BB to D, which signifies junk or speculative grade.
Cities like Chicago can spend years in the speculative grade junk bond category. The city received an upgrade on its ratings by continuing to make advance payments toward future pension obligations.
We balanced this budget without increasing the city's base property tax. I was elected to end this government's addiction to the regressive taxation that has pushed working families to the brink, and that begins today.
I believe this is a big problem throughout the country. The voters think, oh, they must be living within their means, and they're not. But if you can go ahead and use budgeting gimmicks and not have to raise taxes, but still provide a large amount of services and benefits, that's obviously beneficial to elected officials.
Other factors like climate change could be making public administration more expensive.
We've started in our own bond underwriting to reflect on the city's climate risk and try to be clear and transparent about it. If we're going to have coastal resiliency for protection against storms and hurricanes, that's the new normal amidst climate change, and we do need to make investments.
The leaders of cities can sometimes rely on the federal government to bail them out, especially when crises hit.
I think during the pandemic, there was, of course, very real anxiety about whether the model that is New York City would continue to work.
New York City received an estimated $28.6 billion in federal grants during the pandemic from a wide variety of programs.
That money, even though they're claiming that those direct federal dollars went for COVID relief, that allowed them to use other money for additional spending. It kind of was a bailout for these cities and states.
Tax revenues are projected to decline in New York City in fiscal year 2024, something that's happened only 3 times in the past 4 decades.
There's real urgency, and I think people are not really appreciating that.
The city could find new revenue using old tools. Take, for example, property taxes. The average American will pay over $165,000 in property taxes over the course of their lifetimes. The rates are highest in states near the largest cities, including Metro New York, Greater Boston, and Chicago. In lieu of tax hikes, the city could raise its debt limit, as proposed by New York State's leaders to address ongoing capital needs.
We project the city could hit that ceiling by about 2029, 4 or 5 years from now.
To the extent that, they can issue debt to finance a portion of their capital plan, that could mean, unsafe, school conditions, overcrowding, certainly roads, infrastructure, bridges, tunnels are all part of the capital plan. And so, there's risk associated, with an inability to issue debt.
The state and local governments have balanced budget requirements so they don't get unsustainable debt. I think that almost these requirements give people a false sense of security because the elected officials say year after year that the budget's balanced when they're using budgeting and accounting gimmicks to truly not balance.
Guys, the floor is falling out. The floor is falling out. The everything bubble is going to pop. And a lot of these corporations, when things happen, they're going to get absolutely desperate. And that's when they start firing even more people. And the crazy thing is that they're going to use artificial. They're going to use, the economy, like the floor falling out, as an excuse to begin firing people and replacing them with artificial intelligence. So, just like how there was like a big transition, after the events of 2020, there's going to be, a even greater transition used to automate pretty much everything out as much as they possibly can, further outsource things to people overseas, and using artificial intelligence along with that outsourcing. So, I said this before, that it won't be, AI won't replace the jobs of people. People using AI will replace the jobs of people, but you're going to have people that use AI will be using AI to replace, let's say, 10 jobs or even 100 jobs. So now you'll have one guy doing the job of 100 people because AI will be automating out so much of that. Will be taking control of so much of that. And even if the experience is much worse, because people have to use artificial intelligence now just to get simple things done, these companies don't care. They'll let you sit on hold for 3 or 4 hours to get your problem resolved. But in the end of the day, it's still saving them. It could be anywhere from a couple of bucks to hundreds and thousands or tens of millions of dollars, or even billions of dollars. So even if the consumer experience declines significantly, if that's going to save them $100 million or $1 billion, they could care less about the consumer than anything else, and they'll just keep on pushing this out. Like I've already said this, guys. Like, it's going to be hard. Like Generation Beta, they're going to have very hard lives. The boomers are very stingy because the center of their lives is money. And when it comes to Gen Z, you can see that Gen Z is going to be extremely stingy with money. They're not going to want to spend money on their kids. They're already saying things like they don't plan on giving their children cell phones and a lot of luxuries. The reason why is because they want to spend that on themselves. These are people the center of their lives is consumerism. All right. It's understandable to say, you're coming into the world, and you're realizing that many of the things that people had decades ago, you won't be able to have those things, or it's just not going to be as feasible. And it's okay to be upset about that. But Gen Z, they don't care about, creating value in this world, regardless if you're making money or not. It's about finding a passion, finding a purpose. Gen Z doesn't have that. Their only focus on life is consumerism, just like the boomers. So they're going to be terrible parents, those that are still left, that are still around in 10 years. But it's just a reality. It's just a reality. And then, of course, people just are not going to have money. A lot of the luxuries that we enjoy today and we take for granted, even just like having cheap cellular service, that may become a thing of the past. We may see a reality where it costs a lot more just to have a cell phone again. Look at the cost of these phones, the iPhone, $1,100, $1,500, and we don't even bat an eye at these prices. But don't be shocked when, Mint Mobile is like now costing $300 a year, and they're still saying, well, and it's cheap. It's only $300 a year versus Verizon, where you're spending, where you could easily spend $3,000 a year. You see that? Look at all of those savings. Like it's madness, but it's just the absolute reality that we live in now. And I said this already. We're in a banana republic. And women in Western society, they don't have any friends. Just like women around the world are looking at the nastiness, terrible behavior of these women, and all the vitriol that they've sent at them as a result of dating men dating men from the United States and other Western countries. These women don't have any friends in other parts of the world. Women in other parts of the world are looking at these women like, don't come to our countries. Like, Keisha, don't come over here. Felicia, don't come over here. You don't have friends here. All right. If you come here, if you mess around, you're going to find out. Don't come to our country. It's the reality. And it's the reality of it. And women in Western society did it to themselves. No one feels sorry for them. No one is crying for them. No one is going to try to rescue them. There's a saying, play clown games, play clown games, play clown games, win clown prizes. Guys, this is it. There's no coming back. Women are facing extreme poverty as men avoid them. What do you guys think about this? I want to hear your thoughts on this. So let's talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.